Welcome. And we are live. What's up, everybody? It is episode number 213 for The Last Word. I am joined by my co-host, Travis Senior IGN Northup, and our other co-host, Mr. Cognito, is out today. He's doing a little bit of traveling. I think he is out on the West Coast doing some things, probably work-related, who knows, but he's got to see those people in person and stuff. He's done with these Zoom calls, so he's moved on to bigger and better live people, I guess. But what have you been up to, Travis?
I am a content creating machine these days.
You are.
I got a review coming out Tuesday, I think it is. Tuesday.
Nice.
Whenever the next date
Is that Steel Rising?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm not allowed to say what it is.
Oh, okay.
As you know. But yeah, it is definitely that. And I
thought we'd said that before, but my bad.
Did I? I might have. Maybe who cares, guys? We're gonna keep it between us, right?
Yeah. All family here around the campfire.
Yeah, I got a new preview that I definitely can't talk about, but that's going to be going live, I think, also on Tuesday. So I finished that up last night.
They got you double booked. All right, cool.
Got me double booked. Well, I finished the review like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes this thing happens when you review games where they give you the code way too early. It's a Souls-like, so I think they thought I would have a hard time with it, and I blew through it in like 2 sittings, and I was like, all right, my review's done, and now I've sort of just been sitting on this review for a couple weeks.
Well, you also do longer sittings than some people, because I know when you go hard on a game or review, it'd be like, oh, it's like when I played Thymesia, I was like, okay, because that was not that long either, and I was like, I did that in 2 sittings, but like, sounds like for you would have done it in 1. Yours are like 12 hours, 16 hours, some crazy sessions that you've had.
Yeah. Well, one of my sittings was like all Sunday, and so yeah, I probably do go a little bit hard, but I just like to get it done. I just like to be done with it.
That's fair. Hey, if you can knock your workout early and rest, then do it.
And aside from that, I've been, going through some personal problems that I don't know if you guys want to hear about it, but I was a victim of a crime over the weekend. A pretty serious crime. I was kidnapped. Do you know about this, E?
I have an idea, but you might want to clarify what you're talking about, because I know what you're saying, but they're probably like, what?
Yeah.
So please explain the whole story as opposed to setting it up like you were actually in trouble.
Can I not just pretend like it wasn't planned this entire time? No. So some of you who listen to the show that I'm on Sunday mornings probably already know this story, but over the weekend, I proposed to my girlfriend, and I did so in the most unnecessary way possible, which is that I staged my own kidnapping via goblins. Some goblins hopped out of a van and stuffed me in it, and then ran off into the woods. And my friend Nick was dressed like a bard and explained to her that if she wanted to rescue me, she would have to go on a fantasy-themed adventure to take me back from an evil necromancer that had stolen me. She then went on a 9-hour quest in 3 acts throughout different parts of San Francisco that involved a turn-based combat system, over 50 people as NPCs and bosses and characters she met along the way, complete with side quests, a vendor, loot, XP and leveling up. And yeah, it was some of the most ridiculous stuff ever. My friends and I had been planning it in secret for over 6 months. It involved a tavern scene where we had a bar fight. It was very elaborate, is what I will say, and costly. She fought a dragon in Act 2. And anyway,
those Game of Thrones budgets for rendering gets a little messy, I'll be honest.
Yeah. Anyway, it all ended at Coit Tower, obviously, the necromancer's lair, where she did the final boss fight. She was victorious, and then she went to the top of Coit Tower, where I proposed to her, because that's what you do when your girlfriend rescues you from a necromancer, is you're obligated by law to marry her. So that was my weekend.
Yeah, that sounds pretty much all encompassing.
Yeah,
Be
I've
epic.
actually had a hard time not talking about it on this show because it's been on my mind for 6 months
Yeah,
planning this
no,
thing in secret.
absolutely. Yeah.
But I couldn't risk my girlfriend overhearing me talk about it or watch an episode of the show, which she would never do. But just in case, I had to keep it secret. So anyway, I'm getting married at some point. She did say yes for
Beautiful,
those asking.
beautiful.
That
Yeah,
would be crazy if she didn't say yes. I'd be
That
like,
would've been-
yo,
that would have been rough.
yo,
You might want to
if-
feel
if-
comfortable before you go through all
Yeah,
that.
that's right.
Did you film it to make a documentary?
Yes. So one of the characters in this RPG was a squire named Teddy, and
Friend of the show,
he had
Teddy.
friend of the show, Teddy. He came up. Actually, I got to give some kudos to Teddy. Teddy recorded the entire thing. He actually came up during the King's Fall release. That's why he was at my house last week,
Yep.
which I did not explain, but that was why he was
Right.
here.
Yeah, I knew.
Because
Nobody else did,
he was
but I
not-
knew.
Yeah, nobody else knew, but that's why he was up here. He actually had to record it for me the weekend that King's Fall came out, and he risked missing Triumph score because there's a chance that one of the Triumphs would have had score attached to it, and it would have
Yeah.
ruined his flawless Triumph record. But he
True
rolled
friend.
those dice. He rolled those dice for me. He was willing to miss his first Triumph, and he got lucky. For the record, there were no Triumph score Triumphs that he missed.
There's an emblem he's missing, but what is the cost of friendship, really? I mean,
he has
come on.
missed emblems before, and he does not have every Triumph. He just has every Triumph
every
with
score,
score
exactly.
attached to it. So his record remains untarnished.
Nice.
He did say that if he missed score, he'd probably thank me from freeing him from the prison.
Yeah.
But it unfortunately didn't go
The
that
monkey
way.
is still on his back, unfortunately.
Monkey's on his back, yeah. So anyway, that's what happened. Look, there he is. There he
Hey,
is.
Teddy
It's
in chat. He
Teddy.
said it was a calculated
Teddy the-
choice, but a friend, I'd do it again. That's a true friend
Yeah.
right there. That's how you do it.
Dude, he is a true friend. He walked 9.4 miles, and Caiatl's elevator was broken that day for the first time in 7 years.
Oh, no.
And so he had to walk up every step to the top of Caiatl, which is one of my favorite clips. He was recording in like clips throughout the day. Like
Yeah.
anytime they got done with like a scene, he would like stop recording and then he would start a new clip. And that clip is literally just him having a heart attack as he climbed 13 flights of stairs. and then it ends. That's it. That's the whole clip.
That's the clip. Be like, this is the
I just
journey.
want to put that clip on there and like maybe add some music or
Yeah.
something. But anyway, for those who are asking, it was recorded, and I plan on putting together some kind of sizzle reel at some point, just to give everybody that recap.
I need to see what this like combat is like, the dragon, the bar. I mean, I need to see pieces
Yeah.
of this. So yes,
It was
I want
pretty
to see the
aggressive.
director. I want to
but
see the director's uncut. I need to see the Snyder cut, please.
Yeah. Well, I do have basically the entire thing recorded, but I think it probably will be better if I splice it together into something that's maybe like 2 minutes long and then post it to Twitter. So
There you go.
look out for that. My engagement was insane and it was a lot of fun. And thank you for everyone who helped make it possible.
Well, as New Red said, now you set the bar so you can decide either Hollywood movie or miniseries for the actual wedding production.
Yeah. I would like Nathan Fielder to recreate it in one of his shows. That's my goal. For those of you who are watching the rehearsal, that was I was channeling Nathan Fielder pretty hard on this one, which was very useful.
Well, for me, I'm not going to take too long. Did King's Fall raid? We'll talk about our thoughts on that when we get there. But we have a very patient guest, but I wanted to let Travis get that story out. So massive congratulations to you and your lady and betrothed.
Dee.
Yes,
Her name is Deanna. Yeah.
So awesome for you guys. Got to meet you both actually at GCX. So you guys don't know Travis the way we do off air. And then at GCX, we got more of that. But D is like the perfect person to match Travis in like every way. Like you want to find like a witty, sarcastic, just, throw in little things here and there. And she fired right back in the best way at one point, and it was could not have asked for a more perfect moment. I was like, oh, you guys are meant to be together. Beautiful. Yeah. So when you see something like that, you're like, oh, okay. Yep. You guys are exactly who should be married. But I don't want to waste too much more time because we have a very patient guest. Thank you for waiting, but we got to bring you into the show.
A pleasure.
Welcome to The Last Word, episode number 213. War Priest presented many teams with quite a challenge this weekend with the reprised King's Fall raid, but it was nice to be back on the Dreadnought in 4K and 60 frames. Of quite a few things just got fixed a few hours ago, so now I can finally start experimenting with Arc 3.0. But wouldn't you know, it was that Crucible is on the timeline once again, and our guest is a great man to discuss such a topic. Starting young with Nintendo and Mario, thanks to his uncle, his gaming journey had begun. Then he tricked his mom into some PC gaming for education, with a gaming history including RTS games, Civilization, as well as being an avid tabletop consumer. It's no surprise that he enjoys getting into the numbers and details of all his hobbies. Many moons ago, the desire to know as much as possible spilled over into the Destiny Reddit, with threads about many of these unique weapons our Guardians get to use. A few posts and discussions later, a podcast was born. Previous guest of the show, Mercules, who some may know actually now works at Bungie, started the one and only Destiny Deep Dive, the massive breakdown with our guest. So let's welcome the now solo host of that show and Beneath Twin Suns, for you Star Wars fans out there, active individual who enjoys adventure racing, obstacle course running, and really any way to get his body moving in unique ways. The man who takes every single number, cone, stat, and nuance of Destiny and manages to make some sense of it all with that Matrix code. Hanging out with me in the Lone Star State, the one, the only, Kit, or see if I can do this right, Kit Kutcha. How you doing?
Hey, thank you for that fantastic introduction. I feel like I've been slacking now on my own show with my introductions. So I'm doing pretty well this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, keeping very busy.
So
How hot is it in Texas there? In your part of Texas?
It's been a bit more reasonable. Where are you at? Are you the
So I'm in the San Antonio area.
Okay.
It is currently 92 degrees Fahrenheit at 6 p.m.
Yeah, that's fun.
in Texas. And my office is on the west side of the house, so I do get that nice afternoon sunshine.
Oh yeah, you
so
be cooking. Yeah.
Yeah. So it gets a little toasty.
Yep. Well, we got to go back to the OG. Starting out, I got to know how. I kind of want to hear the story of you got Nintendo, but your mom did not want that to happen. So I just kind of want to know how that got snuck in and how, like, how many hours did you spend playing Mario once you got your hands on that thing?
Yeah. So this was like a surprise Christmas gift from my uncle. He gave us a Nintendo with 4 cartridges. He brought it over. It had not been previously discussed, but once it was in the house, like, how do you say no to a gift?
That's what the uncle gets to do, though. That's
from
some of the
family,
fun
right?
stuff.
That's what uncles are for. So I spent a lot of time. We never got to buy another Nintendo game, but we had the original Mario Brothers. We had Super Mario Brothers 3.
That's like the best one. Well, that's up there.
We had Super Contra, and then we had what? I am drawing a blank on the other game, Gradius, which is like you're flying a ship through a tunnel endlessly.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we spent a lot of time on all of those. I never really got past the first level of Super Contra somehow, but we played Mario to death.
I mean, yeah, there was definitely a point like Super Mario Brothers 3. I know I put like 10 hours in one day as a kid, which is probably not what you're supposed to do and be outside, but I still did that. Like Mario 3 was definitely probably my first very long game stint. Started there and who knows how many more. So I approve of some of the choices there. That was a good handoff from the uncle. And then where did it progress from Nintendo? Like what was the next system, or did you just jump straight into like, time forward, or where'd you go?
So I jumped into PC gaming after that, and I was very much like my whole life basically since the age of like 10 now I've been like a big 4X gamer. So Civilization is probably the classic game. Don't ask me to list what the 4X's are, but it's like expand, explore, exterminate, a fourth X.
I was like, I knew Civilization, I just didn't know the 4X reference. That makes perfect sense though.
Yeah, so it's a game where you're building some kind of empire, fighting against other AI-controlled empires, collecting resources, etc. So yeah, I've played every iteration of Civilization over the years, and I play Stellaris from time to time. It's good fun for kind of a sci-fi kick. So
Nice.
yeah. But yeah, I get the original Civilization on 9 floppy disks. It took like an hour to install.
I remember Office or whatever on like 78.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was, it was fun. It was fun. It was a historical game, right? The Civilopedia actually I credit with me not having to study like world history.
Oh, got away with it through
So,
gaming. Or is that
yeah.
what you told your mom it was for education, and then she'd be like, "Oh yeah, you can play for hours. He's learning stuff. Totally fine."
Yeah, I mean, I was still limited.
That's-
For sure. But yeah, we got kicked outside a lot, which is, I've retained that. I like to game, but I also like to get outside and be active as well.
Indeed. Staying with gaming, though, I got to toss this one to Travis, as he is probably a good one to ask about the tabletop side of gaming. I figured you might want to see what this man's got to discuss on that side of things.
Well, I'm a tenured game master myself, and
I guessed.
I heard that you guessed. What could I have told you that made you think that of me? Yeah, just a lucky
Intuition.
guess, I guess, huh?
It was a nat 20 on my intuition. That's all.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, actually, what's interesting about my fantasy themed RPG is that I am a long game master, but I don't really play Dungeons and Dragons. I haven't for quite a long time. Just moved on to other stuff because I kind of view like Dungeons and Dragons as like your starter kit for RPGs, but eventually you want other stuff. One of the games that I've been jamming for a long time is actually the Fantasy and Flight Star Wars RPG, which I know you are a fan of Star Wars yourself. So
yeah,
just I'll open the question. What sort of stuff do you get up to in the dice world? What games do you play? Are you a player or a game master? What's your deal?
yeah. So as far as tabletop RPGs go, I like everyone. I think I started with Dungeons and Dragons, but I was gonna say preach there as far as kind of moving on to other games.
Nice.
So I've got a regular online group. We play on Roll20.
Nice.
Most weeks when we can. Adult scheduling is difficult, but even
Yeah,
online,
for
it's
sure.
difficult.
I do once a month because it's hard to get people around the same table.
Yeah, I feel that. So we tend to kind of pick the rule set based on the setting, and we kind of rotate and pass off who wants the game master based just on who's excited about something new. Whenever we kind of wrap up a campaign, so I have played a lot of stuff. I've never played a Star Wars RPG, which
Well, it
is
sounds
probably
like you're due.
surprising.
You should definitely change it. Yeah. It's great, dude.
I did write a setting conversion for Star Wars for the Savage Worlds game.
Nice.
Based off of the Superpowers rulebook.
Nice.
Because I was like, Jedi are basically superheroes, so kind of made sense to me. But I never did get a chance to get that game off the ground. I just wrote like 30 pages in Google Docs on it. No big deal.
Nothing major. Not a long time commitment, guys. You want to play this? No, okay, that's fine.
Standard game master stuff.
Yeah, that is surprisingly actually not that much for a game master. 30 pages is like, I worked on it.
What is an average game? Now I'm curious because 30 pages in Google Docs ain't nothing.
Are you making the rule set yourself, or are you simply writing an adventure within an existing rule set? Because I've done both.
Okay, give me two ballpark example. I don't have to have like an hour discussion, but like using someone's versus from scratch.
I wrote a 2-year campaign, but I was making 5 characters wherein I created all of their backstories. I like made the characters for the player, and each of their bios was about 30 pages long for all 5 of the characters, and then the actual story was like a couple hundred pages. So, and this was all, you have to write, when you're game mastering, you have to write different routes, and you have to write different possibilities. It's like designing a video game with lots of choices, except for in a video game, you actually can control the outcomes. In RPGs, you can't, and that's sort of part of the fun. So you want to create a loose outline of like what your goals are and what you want kind of the various arc options to be. And then you never write more than 1 session ahead, because otherwise you're trapping yourself and wasting time on stuff that might not happen. So you create, like, what I did for that campaign is I created like a lot of material for stuff I wanted to do, and then I just wrote each session as it went, and by the time it was done, it was like a couple hundred pages, and that was for a system I didn't even make. I've made systems, and like the system itself will be like, depending on if it's a light system, it could be 1 page. They call them 1-pagers if it's like a really simple system. I tend to like chunkier systems, so mine tend to be
somehow
a
shocking.
couple of hundreds. Yeah, that mine tend to be hundreds of pages. But yeah, dude, it's wild. The world of RPGs, man. It's such a cool. You should do it, E. Next time when you come to SF, we should set up a session and
like just do a
break
one
that.
shot or something. Is that what they're
Just
called?
do a one shot with you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
He's got the
You'll fall
lingo
in
down
love.
already.
It's one of those rare things I've heard. I went to
it's-
dinner with a couple of friends, and they play, and they have friends who play on a weekly basis, and talk to them for a little bit. It's just, as you guys say, it's like, for one, being an adult and the time commitment alone, it's like, it's a whole journey you're going down for a while. Do you have enough friends to even have that happen is another thing too. But what I wanted to ask you two is there like, give me like cool, just one, but like kind of like memorable moment from a campaign where something cool happened that like, this is kind of why I play. One of these things that's like, one of these moments that's like, all right, this is what you had to be there for it type.
So I'll jump in because I just had one of those 2 weeks ago in our session. So I'm running right now a superheroes campaign in Savage Worlds based off of, it's actually sort of developed based off of the published Necessary Evil campaign. So the basic premise is that aliens invade, murder all of these superheroes, and it is now up to the villains to save the world, because if anyone's going to conquer Earth, it's of course going to be them.
Nice.
So I've got a dynamic duo, wherein one of them is his power set is essentially being a giant death robot, and the other one is has the ability to manipulate light. So he's got like invisibility and hard light, and like he can see around corners and create illusions. So we had kind of a showdown with a long-running nemesis of theirs, who is like this overpowered knight with a sword where, like, basically if he hits you, like, there's even odds you're going to just get one shot, like, be down possibly for the count.
Ow.
I'm not too shy about putting them in potentially deadly situations at this point in the campaign.
Like, if you roll a 1, you're kind of done. Sorry.
Yeah, there's a mechanic in Savage Worlds where any dice can do what's called acing, where if you roll the highest number on the dice, you just roll it again and add that. So when you roll damage and you have like 66, maybe you roll like 40, 50 damage, which is a lot. So anyway, he's about to charge the robot guys. They're kind of arch nemeses. And so he goes charging down the street with his sword. He's kind of got the drop on him. Like, this is going to be like one of those situations where, like, maybe he just murks him outright here. But he doesn't know that the invisible guy is standing on the side of the road holding a mega taser, which is specifically designed to take down superheroes. So he goes running straight by him, gets tasered, and just flat out just drops boneless to the ground. And then the other guy gets his turn. He's got a fusion cannon. So he just, the invisible guy realizes, like, hey, okay, I've dropped him. I'm going to get out of the way now. And so he leaves. Like, he like runs around the corner. Robot guy fires his fusion cannon into the side of a building and drops it on the boss. Was
that like done?
Outright kills him. Nice. I was expecting this fight to take like an hour and a half. It took like 15 minutes.
So it is fairly unpredictable, to say the least. Well, that's like when you say somebody's invisible and all of a sudden be like, I'm gonna hide here, and then the dude starts running, and you're like, gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was
like
a lot
of
of
Scooby-Doo trap that they Scooby-Dooed him.
Yeah. It's a bunch of really good rolls and just bad rolls on my part. Like, just that's one part of the fun of Savage Worlds is it's like the campaign I'm playing is kind of like the boys with but like only the violence part.
Oh, good. Yeah, let's just make it the crazy part of the show. So
Yeah, it's just the hyper violent part of the boys. So
nice.
yeah, it's fun. It's fun. So
Oops, all murder. The boys version.
Well, I mean, yeah, I know, like, I haven't ever got into it, but like the more I listen to it, you see like Critical Role being like really massive and popular, and then like Dimension 20 doing its thing, and then just kind of watching more and more of that just kind of creep in and stuff that I've watched a little bit. It's kind of cool to see you guys actually talk about it, kind of explain what happens. Again, as you said, Travis, like doing a one shot I don't need one that goes for a year right now. I don't know if I can fit that into the schedule and stuff like that with everything else going on, but just experiencing one, as you guys said, that would be kind of cool. Would be fun.
Yeah, be fun. Be happy to host you, man. I do all kinds of stuff. I mean, that story, I'd have to pick which one because, as you know, I run just different sorts of campaigns all the
Oh,
time.
yeah.
I did the Star Wars one. I'm currently running an American Vandal campaign. I don't know if either of you guys have watched that show, American Vandal, but it's
Mhm.
basically like it's like a mockumentary. It's like a
Maybe I do.
it's like
Maybe?
Making a Murderer but stupid.
Yeah,
It's
I think I remember hearing about this
yeah,
thing.
that's the one with like it's about a guy who gets accused of spray painting a bunch of penises on cars in the faculty parking lot, and then the students are trying to solve it like it's like filmed with like the seriousness of like Making a Murderer, but it's just really stupid. And so I'm currently doing an American Vandal RPG, which is just fantastic. And yeah, I'm always trying new stuff, so I
Yeah,
like to just
that's out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, bringing it back to video games. So for you, Kit, how did your journey into Destiny, like, what's your journey been? I know obviously the Reddit took you down the podcast hole, but
yeah.
like, how did your Destiny journey begin, like, start to where you are now?
So a bunch of my friends in my tabletop RPG gaming group at the time were all like every time we'd get together, every week they were talking about Destiny and how they had been playing like every night. And this went on for like a month or two. And finally I was just like, all right, I feel like I need to actually like check this game out. So I went over to my buddy's house.
Peer pressure does wonders.
And yeah, and he loaded me up just in patrol. I think I was on Venus.
Ooh,
And he
good
just
plan.
let me run around for like half an hour. And obviously he was like level 29 or something. And so this obviously many moons ago when that meant something.
Yeah, Forever 29 did.
Yeah, I was there for a while, but
I was there
so
forever.
I had such a blast.
I got to 30.
But this is a long time ago. At the time, I was the sole like income source for a household, and I wasn't making a ton of money. We just had a baby, and my wife was home full time, and so like I had Christmas and my birthday coming up because they're 9 days apart. So that kind of, So I was just like, hey, everybody, I don't want gifts. I want money so that I can buy a PlayStation and Destiny 2. And I started like squirreling my sort of extra cash away.
Skip the coffee, starve myself for a meal, just put everything in the corner.
I was able for my birthday to buy a PlayStation and Destiny, and I had kind of a built-in raid group ready to go, and so they got me up to speed pretty quickly, and I was able to kind of when the Dark Below launched, I was ready to raid. So we got right into it, doing Crota 3 times a week, doing Vault of Glass 3 times a week. Like I was hardcore PvE that whole time. I didn't even really touch the Crucible up until like House of Wolves, I think.
Okay.
Which was a brutal time to be trying to learn how to play PvP.
Yeah, first thing, straight into trials. Go.
Yeah, well, I jump in and you get 2-tapped by Thorn from across the map, and you're just like, oh, this is what it's like.
Yep. Yeah, I forget
Uh,
the dates and like what coincides with like what meta and era of the game. I'm sure somebody's got a list somewhere, but
so yeah, it took me a few months to get my feet underneath me in the Crucible, but I was starting to get pretty decent by the time the Taken King launched, and so I kind of at that point I was kind of doing everything. I was playing a ton of Destiny at that point, and still play a ton of Destiny.
yeah.
The rest from there is kind of history. I was writing Arms Day guides and
Okay.
stuff on Reddit, and that's kind of how Merc and I connected because he was writing weapons guides as well,
Nice.
non-Arms Day, and so we ended up getting to talking, and we're just like, hey, it'd be fun to. I think some random person on Reddit was like, you guys should do a podcast, and we were just like, should we do a podcast? And we did a podcast.
200 and some odd episodes later.
I was
Yeah.
recording it in my garage for a while.
Oh,
Which
that's
is, yeah, you might say there was a little echo in the background,
fun. You're like not the prime audio quality I was looking for, but that's
Yeah.
when we used to have a different name as well, and yeah, Travis was over at IGN doing his fire team chat things for a while. I don't even know if you were on. I don't know if we started our show before you were even on fire team chat. We might have been doing that long enough, but yeah,
Yeah, you did. Your show was long established by the time I was on Fire Team Chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you go back and listen to like episode 1, there's probably been a few tweaks since then. I definitely have a different microphone, different audio editing. All of that stuff is different now. So it is nice to, as you're saying, it's nice to kind of think about the journey, but you're kind of happy where you've landed now. You're like, I know how some
Yeah.
of this works. It's kind of easy now.
Yeah, I've been fortunate to have a ton of very, very generous and very helpful supporters in the Destiny community who've pushed us along the way. Especially in the last year or two, the sound quality has drastically improved. We're a lot better funded, and so I'm able to actually pay people to do work that I'm not really qualified to do myself, and have a nice microphone and good software and all that stuff. So yeah, it's much better. And now I'm now a hardcore PvP main and have been for like 5 years. Like I barely play PvE in comparison. Like if you just look at my actual play times, I always play the story and campaign because I love that stuff. And I do just enough rating to get like what if there's a weapon that I just have to have. I do just enough for that. Just enough grinding to get the weapons that I need for PvP, basically. And then I just go play 6s.
Well, Travis, would you like to ask him about our long-running segment?
Of course I would.
Oh boy.
I gotta tee that one up for you.
Kutch, now that you've gotten to know us a little bit, it's time to introduce you to our longest running segment here on the last word. It is called Let's Help Ebontis. In this segment, we get PvP mains to come onto the show and give us tips to help Ebontis not suck as much at Crucible.
Oof.
And so at this point, I would like you to give us one of your top tips, maybe a nugget of wisdom, anything. Hand out a copper piece to this prole on the streets in his ragged clothing, looking up at you and wondering, how can I be saved?
That's what copper is very expensive now, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, especially for a prole, the landless poor that you are. It's unfortunate.
So my number one piece of advice that I give to everyone, including myself, on a regular basis. The number one thing you can do to have a better time in the Crucible is don't die. Make that your primary objective in every encounter.
I was gonna say, like, to an average person, they're like, well, no kidding, but I was like, yeah, feed me. Come on, let's hear it.
Yeah, I'll elaborate, right? So there's a couple of components that go into not dying. So first up, be super aware of your surroundings, right? So you never ever should take a 2v1 on purpose. Like especially, you know, if you're not somebody who's like a hardcore PvP main who knows that they can pull it off and you know, has experience. Average player, never ever go into a situation where you are outnumbered. Number 2, ideally, don't take a gunfight where you don't outnumber the other person, unless you know for a fact that they're damaged and you're not. Right. So that's part 2 of don't die. You know, part 1, don't get outnumbered. Part 2, outnumber them. So great piece of advice there is have a friend that you can follow around. Ideally, you know, whoever's on the top of the scoreboard for your team, follow them around, clean up their kills. That's a great way to stay alive, help your team, and also ideally, you know, learn from somebody who's clearly doing well. So number 3, if you get shot by somebody who you have not already shot first, recognize that that person is Han Solo and you're Greedo, and get out. Like, just book it, find cover.
Unless it's a sniper rifle and Greedo died. So,
well, yeah, you know, at that point, the learning opportunity is gone. But if somebody shoots you before you shoot them, your first reaction should be, "Where's my cover?" and be sliding into that cover. So that's kind of the three biggest pieces of advice that I have as far as don't die. The fourth one is if someone shoots you or you're weak and you like manage to get into cover, don't just sit there and wait for them to come and finish you off. Like, look for a lane where you can actually fully disengage from the gunfight until you can heal. And there are always caveats to this. You'll see good players completely ignore these rules. That's because they're good players. And they know when they can ignore those rules. So if you're that's really, I think, like, you will see your KD go from 0.5 to 1.
I mean, if there are less Ds, that sounds horrible out of context. I'm sorry. Less deaths. I'll just say that fully outright so we don't have too much demonetization here. Less deaths and even the same number of kills makes that ratio go up. No, I was like, I would probably put yours in one summation of like your situation. Just be aware of your current situation, where you are on the map. Like, have you already been damaged? Do you have a chance to get out of a fight and survive somewhere else? Like, your current situation, analyze it all the time and a lot. Whether you're in a good place or a bad place. Have you been shot? Do you need to get to cover? Are you in a gunfight you can win or not? Like, that's kind of where I'm taking that one. So that makes sense. I get that. But yeah, I was like, it sounds very simple. Don't die. But no, that is one of those things, because sometimes you're just running and you're like, no, I died. Who cares? Whatever. But if you consciously make an effort to be like, all right, hold on, I got hit. Let me see if I can get to cover. Take a second just to, as you said, like, reposition yourself, kind of readjust and try and come, even if you don't have a choice, come back in the encounter, at least have an idea where you're going.
Right. Yeah. That's like, it's also the great thing about, if making that your focus, the more time you spend alive in the Crucible, the more opportunities you have to learn and be in engagements, and the less time you spend spawning in and running back to the fight. The most, like, the worst possible experience I think you can have in the Crucible is repeatedly spawning in, running to a fight, instantly dying, spawning in. You just repeat that cycle. You learn nothing. It's boring. It sucks. It's not fun. Like, I don't want that for people. I want people to take a second and, you know, just kind of focus on, you know, even if, say, maybe I'm not the greatest PvP player, how can I be the most help to my team? Staying alive, sticking with the group. And obviously, you know, you don't necessarily want to be like 5 feet from somebody at this point. There's a lot of AoE effects.
Yeah.
But being close enough that you can work as a team and follow up on somebody else's shots, and have them also defend you. It's really, once I started making that my focus, my PvP experience turned around big time. So
trying to make better decisions, just be conscious of the decisions you're making. And that's, and sometimes I totally forget that. And then when I actually try and be like, all right, let me think, like, play the radar a little bit, remember where I am in the map, kind of be aware. It's like, I was goofing around with something earlier. I'm like, well, of course I died. I'm in the middle of nothing right now. Of course everyone could, like, those moments when you die, you're like, yeah, I should have died there. That's my own fault. So
Right.
Nope, those little moments are good. Quick question, since you are definitely a weapons guy, do you have like a top 3 favorite kind of like, and again, it could be a hard list to make, but like 3 or 4 favorite weapons that you have enjoyed using that are always kind of go-tos for PvP, that you would probably put high on a list? Because obviously breaking down weapons and analysis is kind of one of your things.
Boy, it's really tough to make that list. I kind of go through phases where I really just enjoy a certain weapon type, and it's somewhat meta dependent for sure. I'm a longtime fan of the last word as a weapon.
So you're one of those. Okay, good to know.
I've got a very beautiful hand painted painting that I've been meaning to hang on my wall for ages. One of these days, I'm gonna have a really nice like Destiny themed background. But this is like the first time I've been on a face cam in a while, so.
It's okay. We kind of sprung it on you, but we appreciate you being on Facecam. You do the audio podcast and you do it well.
Yeah.
We just add a little to it. But sometimes the, facial expressions make things a little fun.
Yeah. So I love the last word. So I guess that'd be like the primary choice.
Thank you.
We appreciate the kind words about the podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Too easy, Travis.
I do have a fond emotional attachment to Hard Light because in Destiny 1, the first 4 exotic drops that I got were Hard Light, and so I just kind of got used to using it.
Man, they really wanted you to try that gun out.
You know what my first exotic in D1 was?
Fully committed.
You're gonna say Galahorn, aren't you? You suck.
Can we drop F-bombs on this show? Because
we made it this far. So if
that's Here's the thing. I did not get it from a drop. I bought it from Zur the second week.
You're also one of those.
You're good.
Yeah, you're
that
fine.
that was my first exotic, and everybody said, "Why would you waste your exotic slot on a rocket launcher?" And I said, "I don't care. It's beautiful. I bought it because it looked beautiful."
Yeah. Yep. I either didn't have coins, couldn't buy it, whatever. My friend had 9 of those things. He filled up his heavy section before I had my first one. I was so mad. It took me forever to get that gun. So, yeah, I would be the one saying it right now, but that's totally fine. Somebody's like, I didn't know Kit had a face for like 5 years. Yeah, we pull this out of people. It's always fun.
I rarely see it myself, so it's hard to say.
It's a good face. Usually people who don't want to come on camera, it's because they're hideously disfigured. But you got nothing to hide, man. Come on out.
The surgery's really done a lot for me.
Oh, that's good.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you for rolling with the awkwardness that Travis teed up there. I appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely. It
was a face-off surgery, by the way.
It was.
Yeah.
Well, it was actually the face-on surgery. I got the opposite.
Oh.
The opposite procedure, the face-on.
Yeah. I need to watch that movie again.
That's a classic. That's a good one.
It is. Very good.
I really miss the old the old D1 Dragon's Breath rocket launcher that you'd have the giant solar flare.
Yep.
That it made.
That was dope.
Had a lot of fun with that.
I can only imagine what something
looking gun.
I can only imagine like Patience and Time now would just probably piss a lot of people off. It would give hunters a taste of their own medicine, though. The what?
What was the
No Land Beyond?
Was it No Land Beyond? Yeah. I kind of missed that gun because that was my favorite gun to bring into Crucible just to mess with people. Oh my God,
I was awful with
so
that.
many good memories about that one.
See, that's one of those for me where it's like I never take all of that PvP stuff too seriously because I'm mid-level, basically. I'm like, I'm fine. I'll probably survive. I'll end up around 1.0. But like, I know anybody who killed me with No Land Beyond, whether we're close or far, I was like, good job. Because I'm awful with that weapon. I just respect anybody who can use it. Same with the Last Word. That one pisses me off a little more, though. No Land Beyond, I would at least respect. Because like, if you hit the shot, you hit the shot. Cool. But yeah, I was like, I've enjoyed... Yeah, I was like, probably don't have any major attachment to guns like you have. My Go Figure was definitely a massive chunk of early D2, though. It was probably Forsaken through that whole year.
Yeah.
I don't know if that thing ever came off. And now the fact that I've gotten Insidious now, I went back in PvP with that because we had to get like art kills for a challenge this week. I was like, yep, I'm still a Pulse guy.
Yeah, Uriel's Gift might still be one of the guns that I have the most kills with because precision autos were just like bomb.
Uriel's was
early
unique
detune.
though. Uriel's was better than it ever had any right to be. It was.
Oh
It
my
was.
god, it was so good in vanilla D2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah,
range
I
that
think
thing had, like it. I don't know. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. That's a good one.
That got me through trials. That gun. Jeez.
It's been hard for me to put enough kills onto a single weapon to catch up with how much I abused that gun.
It was abuse back then too.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
disgusting.
Oh yeah.
And then I think I got was it the auto rifle from the 9, the Trials of the 9, that had like the same kind of feel to it, but it was a little more accurate. And then I switched to that one. But yeah, dude, Uriel's was dominant.
Yep.
Yeah.
I definitely put some time in with that as well. Well,
What was that pulse rifle in D2 that created the void orbs when you killed somebody?
the
with
one I
it?
can never remember the name of.
Yeah, and that
Cosmology
it
is
was just
the perk. I
Oh,
know that.
Graviton Lance?
Yes, thank you.
Graviton Lance. Thank you.
Yeah.
Dude, I'll never forget when that gun was dominant. That was a time, a vibe in Destiny.
Yeah, I was
I
like
don't-
Newrad was
I don't
saying
miss
that.
that.
Yeah, that new Amit, however you say it, the new one that you can craft, the auto rifle, is damn near feels like a Uriel's. It's
Very
it?
good.
It's got some potential. It's
But
an
auto
Amalon
rifles,
auto.
they're not-
It's
they're
an
not
Amalon
very-
auto. It's definitely in the wheelhouse.
If they do follow through and make auto rifles a little easier to use, they're not gonna touch the time to kill.
Right.
Had multiple devs say that like auto
Yeah,
rifles
they're
can't
afraid
kill
of-
faster,
Yep, they're
or
afraid
they
of
will
like
be too strong.
0.01% increased damage. Broke the game. Damn it.
Yeah. But if they make them any easier to use, Amit is going to be very easy to use. It's already like I don't know if anyone else has it crafted. I'm sure everyone has it crafted. It's a free craftable. But if you've crafted one with dynamic sway reduction,
Ooh,
it feels very smooth.
I can see that.
Nice. Are auto rifles any better in Crucible than they were though? Because I haven't really been able to use one for a long time. No.
Use an SMG.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I use SMGs
Yeah.
and sidearms to get that same feel. And it's just
Specifically,
sort of
use out of bounds.
out of bounds SMG.
Out of bounds with tap the trigger. It's
Interesting.
Oh, that's the new one
I've
this season. I was
I've
seeing
been
It's the
drop?
using the
Omalon.
Dallas
It's the
one.
Omalon Crucible drop. Yeah, so it's
Okay.
got plus 20 stability for the top half of the magazine. Slowly gets worse. Tap the trigger gives you bonus accuracy and stability. Like I just got one with threat detector, which gives you more bonus stability when someone is close to you, which they are.
Damn.
Generally with that, yeah.
It feels real nice.
Flirting with laser beam status there.
Yeah.
Well,
There's so many good perks.
I gotta ask, as we transition, it's like we could probably talk about guns the entire time, but we
I'm
have
down.
we have also had quite a few things happen in the past week in Destiny, so I wanted to see King's Fall. Have you seen it? Have you watched it? Have you peeked inside? Have you played it? Beat it? Did you do contest mode? Kit, you first. I know what yours
That's
main.
what she said to all of that. Just want to throw that out there.
Way too many
So-
jokes.
So I've watched some encounters. I played a ton of King's Fall in Destiny 1. And so it's pretty familiar for me. There's, I like the changes that they've made. I've not played it yet myself. It was not a good weekend for me to try and commit. And just with my schedule, this kind of this early fall period is a rough time for me to plan on raids. So I'm leaving it on the back burner, and I'm just looking with envy at the weapon drops that people have because they are pretty excellent, and I had a feeling they were going to be pretty excellent.
So before Travis and I talk about it, then take the King's Fall reissue off the table. Top 3 raids of the Destiny franchise. We got to know. We ask most of our guests this one. What are your top 3 raids? Even if you play them just enough to get what you need, you've played most of them, I would assume. So give me 1, 2, 3, or 3, 2, 1, whichever way you want.
Oh gosh. So I'm gonna rate this not based on like mechanics or anything, like
However
Firm,
they fall
just-
in your head.
purely for me on like nostalgia and emotion. I'm going to, and this is gonna, I think people are gonna be like, what is this guy talking about? But Crota's in for me, man. So, I had so many good memories cheesing through that stupid raid.
I mean, you're not alone. I have a soft spot for that one because my buddy and I did our 2-man flawless raid, and that's where that one's at. So, and people would be like, "Well, that's a strike. Of course you can."
Can
I'm
I
like,
ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
When you say so many good memories, do you mean 20 minutes worth of good memories?
there's a lot of 20-minute memories. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of very short. Now, actually, I have a bunch of actually longer memories from people. Most of them involve people screwing up things that were supposed to be easy. Those are because then it's like 5 of us hanging out, like playing grenade golf while somebody runs the abyss and dies repeatedly, and so we're just playing grenade golf.
They're trying to cheese it
for like half an hour while somebody repeatedly screws up in the abyss. So yeah, stuff like that. I have good memories with. Wrath of the Machine was a super fun raid for me. I had a group at that time where we kind of clicked. We played together a ton, and so it was just a lot of fun. And then King's Fall, because I played it probably the most of any raid. At a point in time when I was really, really into Destiny. And so I played it a lot with a lot of different people. I had a lot of opportunities to, have fun with people who hadn't played it before. And so I guess those would be the 3 for me where I have the most good memories.
So all D1 raids, okay.
Yeah. I am telling you, for D2, I'm a PvP main. Like I don't raid a ton, so I haven't formed those emotional attachments.
That's fair. I mean, I agree on. I have a soft spot with Crota. Told you why. King's Fall is still. I even got my little King's Fall email. I beat that thing 62 times. I had honestly forgotten that I run any raid that many times, and that was the one that I knew. I was like, I knew this thing like back of my hand, like 62 King's Fall. I ran
62.
Yeah, King's Fall. I ran 62 times. Yeah, I was like, that's why when I jumped in, I was like, I have an idea what's going on in here. I used to be to the point where I was like, all right, we're at Golgoroth. When you guys shoot the bubble, all 5 of you go down there, because I used to just solo him. I used to just, because you could do that, and I would just because you could barely hit the top of his head on top of the box to pull the gaze. So I would just I got my machine gun, I'll solo him, I'm good, and I would just handle that, and it would just help have another person for DPS. And yeah, it was like I remember running I'm gonna be the runner, because that was the point where it was just like, I know what I'm doing. I'm gonna handle these sections, and that's the one I remember doing. That I haven't rated nearly like that in a long time either. So I'm with you. It's like I rated Vow a decent amount actually recently, just because I actually had a group, and that's the thing you kind of said is it's all in who you have to play with. Do you have a consistent group who wants to raid kind of on a weekly basis, or maybe every other, but you play with the same people enough, you kind of get a little rhythm, synergy, and you have those good goofy times. And I think that's the ones that will actually stick out, because Vow for me was good. And then King's Fall in a similar fashion. Yeah, it's the times you have with kind of a repeated group that seem to be the ones that stick out for me as well. So I totally get your list. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I mean, I had fun in Vow. I had fun in Deepstone Crypt. And then the people I ran with were great. They're people that I have played with on multiple occasions, but it's just like I only ran those a couple of times. And so for me to be like, oh yeah, Vow is my favorite raid, I've totally run it like once. It's like, yeah, I can't really say that. Not that I didn't enjoy it, but just my life is in a different place now. And, I'm in a position where if I have half an hour during my workday, I can rotate my stool here and I can play some Crucible, but I can't necessarily commit to raiding in the same way. So
makes sense.
Well, Travis. Yeah, that's what everybody. Yeah, I was like, you said you did get a chance to play. Did you get any? I know you didn't get contest run, obviously, for a very good reason. Totally fine. What have been your?
Is it fine?
Yes, it is.
Is it fine? Or should I guilt trip her for the rest of our lives?
Never.
Just kidding. It's all because of you. Actually, you know what? I don't really enjoy the contest modes with returning raids. That to me, it's like the magic is gone, and it's basically about like remembering stuff and figuring out what they changed on you, and it feels low stakes to me. So I'm not really sad.
Well, okay. Let me ask you this one: would you rather have contest or master, though? And you
I
can
don't care
answer
about
that
either
too.
of those. Yeah, I don't
Okay,
care
if
about
you
either
were
of
gonna
those.
have a difficulty option, you got to pick one, A
Probably
or B.
contest mode,
Okay.
I guess. Yeah, masters just they add beefier bars and champions you have to deal with, which is very stupid. So yeah, I'd probably deal with contest mode over masters. I also don't really like any of the modes where you have to get all your pinnacles in for weeks and weeks because I just never am geared to do that, and it's wasted on me. Also, the rewards for all that effort are really not worth it. So yeah, probably contest. I don't have a problem with contest. It's more just like, high stress stuff you've already seen. You're not even really the reason I like contest mode is because everybody's figuring it out together.
Yeah,
And
like
it's
Vow,
completely
it was cool.
unknown.
Vow was cool. I
But Vow
appreciate
is
that.
super cool. You're not getting spoiled for anything too. Like
Yep.
in a reissued raid, there's not really anything to spoil. So I kind of wish that there was. I kind of wish that there was something different or about it that they would surprise us with, but there wasn't. But yeah, my initial thoughts on it are it's the same raid. It's one of the stronger raids. I like the changes they made to it. I like the killing knights and kind of reissuing the shield as opposed to the killing any random minion and getting the shield.
Yep.
The whole minion thing. One, the boss would walk behind those tablets back in the day, and then you couldn't shoot it. And so now you can kind of choose where your DPS is because it doesn't really matter as much. And two, I hated that problem of like, wait, who's killing the enemies? I had a guy down to one tap and somebody killed my guy.
Yep.
And then you screw up a damage rotation because of that. So I kind of thought that was a dumb mechanic to begin with. So I like the changes that they made. The Golgoroth having to use all 6 bubbles one, I'm kind of like, was that really necessary?
Going back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah, having to go back and forth and all that stuff is kind of annoying. But yeah, we beat it with my crew in probably 90 minutes, and that was a leisurely pace with some of us, myself included, not perfectly remembering a lot of the encounters, but I don't think we wiped on any of them, and or maybe once or twice. But we also got all of the triumphs, the extra challenge triumphs, stuff
nice.
done, like where you have to do it with one of each person has to carry the spark, and you can't touch the ground and stuff like that. We did all that stupid stuff, so it kind of felt like I was going through challenge mode a little bit. And yeah, I got some good loot. I only got 1 piece of armor. The rest was weapons, which was cool. I got the scout rifle. I got the fusion rifle. I got the hand cannon, and I got one other weapon. I think it was the rocket launcher or something. But yeah, pretty good loot. Can't complain. And I'm on my way to crafting some of these weapons, which I'm going to focus on the hand cannon first, obviously, because I'm a sweat lord. And we'll see what goes on from there.
Nice.
I do plan on doing it until I get that damn scout, the exotic. Touch of Malice.
Touch of Malice. Yeah, that thing seems strong. I have not got it yet. I've cleared it 3 times.
Want to get it. Saw somebody one phase Vowed Disciple Rolk, and I was like, damn, I want that.
For a 6 stack doing it? Yeah, like I think Glad was going around Twitter beating like all the bosses with it. So
yeah,
seems effective. Well, for me, I did attempt contest. We got through totems. It was about as chaotic as I figured, but kind of once it was the synergy, it just kind of had to get to the point where enough things were dead and you were high enough on the charge, the last person just kind of luckily finishes it up, is kind of how that first contest totems goes. But War Priest sucks. War Priest was the wall, and if you look at the TWAB, I don't know if they're going to update it. I want to ask him to see, because that's the one stat, like how many cleared each section, they forgot to put in there. Because I'm pretty sure that's where the other big drop-off is at, because they said 450,000 people attempted it, 150-ish thousand beat totems, and then there's a skip for War Priest. They have no data, and then you get to Golgoroth, Daughters, and Oryx, and it's like 52,000, 49,000, 49,000. And I kept hearing on Twitter, it's like if you could get past War Priest, everything else was easier. And I 100% believe that, because for War Priest, we kind of got the mechanics. We understood the strat. We kind of figured out where to go. And yeah, you're going to die sometimes. But the biggest thing, for the longest time in my head, I did not think we were going to get enough damage. And we really weren't. Like, I was putting some decent DPS up. I probably could have still been better. But like, when I see myself topping DPS charts, I'm going, okay, I'm not usually doing that first off, which also worries me, because normally there's somebody like beyond me putting in more. And then like when two of us are there, and then there's big gaps, and it's like, I know there's a lot of moving parts to the arena, but it still just felt like War Priest, the only way we got it, we had to switch to Aeons for heavy ammo drops. That was the only way we could make it happen, is like guaranteeing we got heavy ammo on this encounter. Both sides did it. We could go help each other. Everybody was finishing the wizards and everything. And that was, and we finally just had a smooth all 4 phases it took to do it. And we finally beat him. We were on him for a solid 6 hours, probably 8 hours, maybe. It was a vast majority of our time. So when we finally got done with him, that was like the big wall I heard of, but we were already in. Half of them were tired. Some people hadn't slept that much. I did wrap up the stream probably around 10 hours, and then we still kept going for another 2 more on Golgoroth. And we had the sequence, like TV and I were like trading the gaze back and forth. We kind of understood where to run it. And the DPS was getting there, but it was just like, oh, it's like we were doing. And then like one of us would just like, even the little axiom darts, which are just a pain in the butt to hit on contests, they're worse. So then one of those gets like one of us who's trying to pull the gaze, and it was kind of getting to the point where we could have done it. I don't know about like Daughters and Orcs and stuff like that, but we probably could have got Golgoroth down, but it was just like getting tired. And it's like the fact that you have to go back through, do challenge mode just to get the emblem. You don't get anything for the first clear on the reissues. Also kind of takes like the wind out of your sails. If you're not going to get the whole thing, I'm not really too concerned about, going back and doing challenges. Then if you're just like, then 12 hours later, if you're going to just go beat the crap out of it. And that's one thing I kind of wanted to ask you guys. I mean, shout out to Salto Greppo, the 3-peat. It's crazy. I mean, whether it's a new raid or a reissued raid.
Crazy.
That
I don't know how they're doing it.
I was like, it kind of blows my mind that anybody with as many people, I mean, you're talking hundreds of thousands of people start this thing. There's still a large population. The fact that they can 3-peat it is crazy. But to me, it's weird.
Bunch of nerds.
Yeah, they're a little dedicated. But it's just weird to me, like, even if you're somebody who goes through the whole raid on contest mode, you don't get anything. On the reissues. Now on Val, yeah, you got it. You got the clear if you would have finished it. But like, there's going to be a free raid next year. They said that in one of the articles that came out. Okay, so when that thing comes out, again, if it's probably going to be Wrath, I would assume, because I don't think they're ever going to do Crota at this point. So if it's Wrath and you go through Wrath and you got to do the challenge mode all over again, I wish there was a few more options of how contest mode worked for day one for the reissues, because the reissue going back and doing all the challenges and doing it again seems just a little odd to me. I don't know if you guys like that, don't care, not a big deal.
I don't care personally.
I mean, it doesn't affect me at all, because I'm not gonna be attempting a day one anytime soon.
I wish if you did contest, I will say this. The most recent contest mode I beat on day one was Deepstone Crypt. And I was
you didn't get
sort of.
I thought you did.
Did I do Vow? Oh, I did do Vow.
I feel
but
like
we
you
didn't finish
did.
it. I think we got to the last encounter. I don't think we finished it on day one.
Yeah.
Deepstone Crypt I actually beat like within the first 12 hours though. It was like a pretty solid run for me. And I was pretty irked that I didn't get the exotic at the end, even though I beat it on day one contest. And in fact, had to end up doing that one 80 times or however many I did to get that rocket launcher. So Eyes of Tomorrow. That is the one thing I'll say, is that if they're going to make this super ultimate, thing, it seems weird that you could sweat your face off for an emblem the first 24 hours, or you could simply wait a day and then just breeze through it and get basically the same rewards. I just feel like if you push through it, you shouldn't have to do the whole RNG grind for that entire season or that entire year or whatever, however long that raid is around. That's sort of annoying to me, because I might do it. If you told me, hey Travis, you can do King's Fall once on hard mode, or you can do it 40 times to get Touch of Malice.
I'll be trying a bit harder that day.
I might push pretty hard to get that gun and just never have to do it again. So, yeah.
I mean, I'm with you there. If it would have been that, I'd been like, hey guys, who can get a nap, get some, and like come back, like we're almost there. I mean, yeah, I was like, I was getting there. New Red said it in chat. I do think contest should be an option. I would much rather see contest as an option for the difficulty versus hard, because you can, the crazy people, as you said, do all your pinnacles, do all your bounties, and the artifact on all this type of stuff. Like, you can over level, or at least make master, or however they call it, you can make it easier and more manageable. And then it's just like, what are all the crappy modifiers and champions we can shove into this thing, as opposed to contest, which you get for 24 hours. Not everybody can do, but it feels curated. Like when we beat totems, like all the wheels kind of had to be moving at about the right time, and it was really close, the fact that we got it, but we did get it. And then the same thing with War Priest. When we finally got it, I don't like the fact that it was forcing us to like use one exotic for heavy ammo. That's a separate issue, that ammo needs to be more reliable. But just the idea of like, if ammo was reliable, okay, do we have the sequence down? And we're just, if you can be a smooth oiled machine and you can stay alive and execute, that like contest feels good. Same thing with Val. Like you and I were both on the last encounter. We got most of the damage. We understood it and just didn't quite get it all together. But contest, when you have those encounters, they actually really tune contest very well, I think. And it's just when you go back and then you think about doing master, it doesn't have the same draw to me. And I can't quite put my finger on why. I don't know if you agree with that, Travis, or I'm crazy, but it's just contest feels tuned to be, it's tough, but I just wish it was available more often.
I agree. Give it a reason to exist, though. Give me
I agree that.
Double chances of getting the exotic if I do contest mode, or maybe make them more powerful drops, or I don't know, something.
Even just like extra perks on the drops. Like if it was like 3 or 4 have a chance at an extra perk, higher chance of the exotic, higher stats on the armor. I got a piece of armor from the raid and it was like 58, and I'm like, this shouldn't happen either. Like if I'm getting raid armor, should definitely be at least in the 60s. I know after a while, but it's just like kind of a slap. I got way too many class items. I'm already pissed off about that anyway, but I was like, I think it should. But yeah, I'm with you. Make contest an option, but yes, it does need to have rewards tied behind it, because otherwise it's just not beneficial. Kit, do you have any thoughts about this as we kind of bounce back and forth? I know you're more of a PvP guy, but just was kind of curious. What would draw you into trying, like even now, if contest was an option, what would draw you into trying that?
So this is my feeling for basically all, the way that I think all exotics should work is there should be a guaranteed path to get them. You want me to run every raid 10 times? Sure. I'll absolutely do it if you just guarantee that I get the exotic from it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I run the raid a couple of times, and if I don't get the exotic, I don't get the exotic. And there are still some that I just don't have because they're locked behind raids, and I just wasn't willing to put the time into that part of the game. So if they're not like hardcore PvP meta exotics, then I just am not willing to put in 80 clears. Like I would never do that to myself.
I mean, sadly, how many times have you fired Eyes of Tomorrow even after all that?
Me?
Yeah.
I fired it one time with IRL Titan. After he got his, we fired it together. Yeah. We recorded it. That was the only time.
And then you deleted it and insolidated.
But here's the thing. Because I am a PvP main, and I'm sure Kutch can understand this, you never know when the meta is going to change. And so if there's some old exotic in your history that you haven't gotten yet, you're always at least I am, always a little nervous that suddenly it's going to be the meta and that you're going to be effed. And so like Eyes of Tomorrow, Touch of Malice, probably not ever going to be the meta, but you never know. Every once in a while they do something and it's like, oh man, now I super need that weapon. Like Vex Mythoclast. I would have been hurt. I would have been hurting that season because I used that in every encounter in PvP, and I was just glad I got it. So
I still don't have that.
I just ran the Monarch instead.
Oh yeah, you and Mercules, two of a kind, aren't you?
Dude, Le Monarch is the shit. I mean that weapon is dope. So I feel that. I was using that last season actually a lot. I still really love that weapon.
I didn't get Vex from the Renzivog that I did, and I was just like, well,
guess I'm going with something else.
How many did you do though? You said the runs. It's probably like 2, huh?
A few.
Yeah,
I ran Volta Glass a ton in Destiny 1 too. So like,
yeah, it's.
I don't know.
But if there was a hard mode that guaranteed it, or at a 50%
Yeah,
drop rate or something,
like it's not like I'm bad at raids. Like I'm good at don't die applies to PvE as well. I'm good at staying alive in in-game content, even when I'm under leveled. But it's just like it's more like a time commitment thing for me. Like I can dip in and play Crucible whenever I have free time.
Yep.
I can dip in and do some legendary Lost Sector runs, which I've had neglected, and now I'm on that train for sure because I got burned by not having some exotic armors that I wanted for PvP.
Yep. That'll take you in there.
And I can dip in and do 3 to 20 clears depending on the day in an hour, and have a great time. So, but yeah, raid exotics, they gotta, I know they've given us a guaranteed path if you collect the spoils, but that still requires raiding a ton to get enough spoils, or doing a lot of like gimmicking to like collect chests and stuff. And I don't know. I just I play solo a lot, so for me it's like a huge grind to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing when it comes to King's Fall. It's fun to have it back, and I will say, King's Fall with the encounters. I mean, you get done with totems, which is not a boss, but then you have War Priest, you have Golgoroth, you have Daughters, you have Oryx, and while Oryx is not a boss, he's still pretty large and menacing. You're not actually shooting him, but somebody said it on Twitter, I can't remember who, and it was just like, King's Fall still hits as one of the better raids because there's like the encounters are learnable within a reasonable amount of time, but they are different enough. It's not just like, learn this, now we're going to tack on a little bit more over here, and then in the next counter we tack on a little bit more with this other stuff, though. It's not like quite as much building, which isn't a bad thing for raid design to say, hey, here's your basic mechanic. All right, now we're going to have the basic mechanic with a slight different coat of paint, and then we're going to do a little bit more, and it's like, they've had symbols in a couple raids and those types of things. King's Fall was just like 4 different boss mechanics, and it still is unique in most of the raids that they've done. Even something as complicated as Last Wish is probably the closest in uniqueness, which is why it tends to be on other people's high lists. But yeah, King's Fall, I'm happy to see it back in Destiny 2. I think I'm happy with the changes as well. From like, it's so funny when you did normal mode, it's just like, it's so funny. There's like 2 champions in the whole raid and they're in totems. And then other than that, there's like no champions. And I was just expecting more. I don't know why. I figured the ogres were going to be champions or something, but it's literally just 2 champions and totems, and then that's all. And I'm sure Master's just going to be like 15 more, but it almost feels like those 2 champions are kind of out of place. Like, did you really even need them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why weren't they Light-Bearing Hive?
Oh, I know. That would have been great.
That would have been pretty sweet. Yeah, I watched some totems because that was where my day one of the original King's Fall ended. I was with an LFG group for that day one, and people just could not handle running back and forth.
It takes a little synergy, and I've had some people like, oh, you have 3 people running? I'm like, yeah, seems to work just fine. Like and some people are trying to do it with 2, and people have different opinions about it, but so King's Fall, I don't want to spend too much time on that one because I know you didn't get a chance to play it that much. But I did want to ask, especially with the hotfix we got today, Arc 3.0 seems to be back on the table for everybody. Resilience is working again for Titans and Warlocks. Yes, that did get fixed.
Zap is back on the menu.
No, it's literally today at like
it was today? Time. Okay, I was about to say, I tried it yesterday and I was like, this ain't working. And I popped off of it back to my... Okay.
Yep. Nope, it is back on today. And I just want to ask you guys, how has Arc 3.0 been treating you? Even the stuff you've experimented with, the stuff you've liked, stuff that you've not, classes you've tried, where has it landed for you guys for Arc 3.0? Kit?
So I'm loving Arc right now. It's been as kind of the other 3.0s for me. It's been a breath of fresh air into the Crucible. I love seeing the changes. I can't wait to see where they go with the 3.0 class structures in the future. I'm hoping that we see future releases, including more aspects, more fragments for all of them.
That would be nice.
But yeah, so Arc specifically has been a lot of fun, and there are definitely some builds and some setups that are very, very strong right now.
What are your top ones? What class? What are a couple builds? Come on, fill in the viewers, help their ears.
Yeah. So I do spend 2 hours talking about this on my show coming out Saturday. So I'm gonna pitch that because I'm not gonna give you the whole
that's
recap.
Fine. You can give us a teaser, a taste.
But I think the one that I cannot put down is the Arc Warlock right now. I've loved the Getaway Artists Arc Buddy for a long time. For Warlock, it's kind of been my go-to preferred, and Warlocks have a lot of good options in PvP right now. Solar and Void both have some great setups. But the Arc Warlock right now with Getaway giving you the option to just get instantly amped at the beginning of a match and cover you can cover 2/3 of the map in the amount of time that the other team covers that other one. Like you're so stupidly fast. If you want to get that first kill in the match, that's the way to do it. And you zoom in, you've got the Arc Buddy shooting those tracking bolts. I'm going in there with a shotgun and an SMG, just playing hyper aggressive.
Everybody's favorite ape coming their way.
Oh,
electrified. It's like, oh god.
And it's funny because I've been playing like bow as a bow main on my hunter forever, so I've been playing super passively. Especially compared to this. I mean, I'm still somewhat aggressive, but compared to this, it's like a complete 180 in my play style, and it's just a lot of fun. It's I don't know. It is whole W, and they nailed that feel for sure.
Travis, you're kind of nodding along. Are you agreement of the whole W, or what are you having fun with right now?
Well, like Kutch, I'm really only interested in the new subclasses for PvP, and because it's been busted, I haven't really had a whole lot of opportunities to try it. My Titan is like resilience central right now, so the resilience thing was just blowing up my build for PvP completely. But yeah, I like it. I like moving quickly. I haven't gotten a chance to try a couple things that I'm not really sold on the new Titan melee. I kind of don't think it's that useful in PvP. Maybe I just
new Thunderclap.
Yeah, maybe I just
seems like it's good for clips, like meme clips or whatever, and you're just like wait for it. Is what it seems because the charge up is very long, and it can hit hard.
You basically have to be an idiot to get hit by it.
Yeah, I mean it's like if you run around the corner waiting for a shotgun, it's kind of the same thing. You just run around.
You got clapped by it? Is that what you were gonna say?
Yeah. So I think the Thunderclap it's one of those abilities where the skill gap is massive between like the average player who tries to use it and it's just like very meh, like why am I not using shoulder charge or thunder crash, and that's by average, I mean that's up to like 70% or more of the player base, 80%, 90% even, and then there are a few players who I think are going to be really devastatingly good with it. So just as like an example of like the kind of plays you can make, so I was running Blink on my hunter because it feels incredible.
Oh yeah, you guys got that too. That's nice.
Blink feels really good. So I came around a corner, a Titan threw up a barricade as I was charging. I blinked over his barricade, rotating like mid blink, getting ready to hit him with my SMG. And during my blink, he had turned around and charged his thunderclap. So I start shooting him, get him to like half, and he thunderclaps me. And I was just like, oh.
Damn.
Nice.
Well played, son.
Yeah.
So,
that's
but
cool.
And
I haven't put a ton of time into it. I will say the one that I've put a lot of time into, and I'm already like, ooh, is the Titan dodge. The Titan.
I have not messed with that yet.
Oh man. Oh dude. Like some people, they do not expect Titans to move that way.
No.
And I think that's part of the joy of it is, you just somebody's lining up that perfect shotgun shot and you just strafe around them and just blast them. And I've gotten a couple of kills with that have been super satisfying, but I need more time with it. The resilience thing was kind of a deal breaker for me. So I'm excited to hop back in there and give it good old college try because I switched back to solar pretty quickly.
Yeah.
What
The
exotics
biggest
am I using? Trespasser, weirdly. I've been really liking that in PvP. Just, sidearms in general are really good. Obviously, I'm here with Kutch using my beloved bow as well. Le Monarch is hard to put down. What else have I been using? Weirdly, Wither Horde. I've been back on that Wither Horde game. I don't know
God,
why.
I hate that thing in PvP. I really do.
I know, it's just I can't remember what situation I was in. I think I was playing against a team that was just being super annoying, and I put it on and I got a couple kills with it, and I was like, "Oh, this feels good," and I just started using it again. So I'm kind of back on that game.
Its damage tick is so much higher than I ever think it's going to be. It's like, oh, I can maybe pass over the corner. It's like if you look at it wrong, it's going to kill you. That one always just it surprises me how fast that tick is. Like, spread it out a little bit in PvP, and it might be because it's just deletes really too fast.
I think part of the reason I'm succeeding with it right now is because Arc is making everybody run quicker, and I feel like they're making dumber decisions because of it. And so, like, if you throw it on a Wither Horde at the right 100%. Time, somebody's just like Arc charging, they'll run right over that, and then you just pop them with the hand cannon. It's over, right? And so, it's a really good counter to people moving quickly with Arc, which is why I think it's been working for me.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be illogical about it. That's fine, but no, it's just one of those when I'm like, I see it, I'm just like, oh.
I'm like, oh, you want to run fast? Be my guest.
Here's got a quicksand for you.
Run over. Yeah, I've got a spot for you to run over right here, buddy. Good.
Yeah.
I've had to be really diligent about like reminding myself not to just sprint into like 3v1 situations for no reason, because you're going so fast that it's very easy to like not be watching your radar closely enough, and all of a sudden you're like on the wrong side of the battlefield, and it's not good.
Yeah, you're like, oh.
So I'm a little wary of that amped speed boost for sure.
It is fun to feel that, though. I will say, like, the first time that kind of kicked in for the Arc 3.0 speed boost, just feeling an actual massive boost to how fast you're. I was like, oh, this is what like mobility 30 would feel like in my head. So that's been kind of cool, especially if you just like run around doing random objectives, even just like catch crash or anything ridiculous, and then all of a sudden I'm just like booking and I'm like, oh yeah, this is fun. So I was like, I enjoy that. Like, that's one of those things I didn't expect. And again, I'm hoping with the grapple for Nightfall that we get to have some ridiculous moments and be like, all right, now I'm just swinging from the trees. So it looks like it's gonna be fun.
I like it for speed running lost sectors. I think it's gonna be really handy, especially now that resilience is working again, because there are so many fights you can skip straight past now.
Yeah.
And it's so stupidly
Oh yeah,
fast.
with that like shield up too, if you're booking it as a Titan.
You can do it for Jug or just. I mean, honestly, I think with Warlock with the spark that gives you damage reduction as well. You get 20% damage reduction when people are close to you, and it's like in PvE it's 10% in PvP.
Yeah.
But 20% DR on top of your DR that you're already getting from your armor, if you've thrown on the right mods or whatever, and your resilience, it's just going to be like, you don't have to do any fights that you don't want to. Not just hunters anymore.
I think I'll probably have a better feel on Arc next week, since I'll finally actually put some time in with resilience fix and everything coming this week. But I mean, I will say, and this is why I think a lot of people were asking to see the raid even this Friday as opposed to last Friday, because now we have lots of things fixed. Grenade launchers are fixed. The exotic from Nightfall was deactivated for a week. That thing's back. The Titan exotic just got turned on for the first time. A lot of those things finally got done, and then the raid would be later. So hopefully when it comes to the next raid, which will be around Nightfall time, hopefully we do get that 10-day window to digest and enjoy the expansion a little more. And again, it's a reissue. I kind of feel like that and the Nightfall timing, it made some sense, but we'll see. But one thing I did want to get to before we, because I know we kind of got a somewhat tight time window, I don't want to get too far out. Not really a controversial topic or anything. SBMM. So basically on the TWAB this week, that was the main piece. Yeah, it's like the main piece for the season. You got a really short quest. Expedition now goes to Cosmodrome, which is shorter, which I enjoy more. But the big thing talked about the matchmaking. And also, it was really funny to watch everybody at the first like few hours be like, Crucible matchmaking's terrible. And then they're like, it wasn't on for like the first like 6-7 hours. So
Yeah.
People don't know what they're talking about. Surprise. Newsflash. Players of Destiny don't know what they're talking about.
well, it was
Cool.
even funnier. Like, I mean, yeah, it's like a bug happens, but it's like the matchmaking they got, they're like, oh, it's awful. Connections are terrible. This is what I was waiting for. And granted, there's still some things where they're like the elite skill and the high and low are going to have some, but they got the worst possible matchmaking that exists in Destiny. The default is, hey, the next 11 people in the rotation, you're with them. Well, they're from all over the world. Doesn't matter. Go. Like, that was what they were sending out in that first little grouping. That is default matchmaking until it got switched over at like 7 p.m. So it was probably like 9 hours it was on that first day. So everybody's first was like, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, oops. But I wanted to ask you, we've had multiple PvP people on kind of picking their brains. Castle popped on for our last discussion. I was curious because, I mean, you and Mercules have talked about it forever. PvP and kind of analysis, just like your window is like cones and analysis and being optimal a lot of the time in PvP. Where do you fall on what Bungie is trying to do? Obviously, it's not perfect right now because they are working on tweaking, but this loose SBMM, if it falls into, say, more playlists, for example, like, you know, it spreads farther. I'm not even going to go into what Travis is hoping like comp could eventually be, like a ranked system. Well, I'm not going into that where that's like really strict, but
preach on that. That's what I would like to do.
Yeah. So yeah, we all agree. I think everybody agrees there. Like, you want like ladders, like Diamond 1, 2, 3. I'm down there in Bronze 4. Like, something doesn't exist on the ladder. I fell off of it.
I also think skill-based matchmaking should exist in every PvP playing list. Do not at me, my friend.
Anyway.
Actually, you can't at me because you're wrong, and I'm happy to hear your bad argument. So,
but I wanted to see kind of where you are on just SBMM, kind of what they're trying to do, and just your take on, you know, kind of the whole PvP Crucible Twitter explosion that I watched this afternoon. That's always entertaining.
So first off, I'll preface this by saying that it's very easy for me to be calm about this. Because I live in the middle of Texas, and I got, 99 problems, but connection is not one of them. So it's really, like, for me, it's been fine. And I always like to clarify, like, I am definitely not a top 1% PvP player. I am not in that skill bracket, and I don't have those experiences in the Crucible.
Where would you place yourself if you're going to say like top 10%, top 50? Like, I'm gonna say I'm probably right in the mid, like the top of the bell curve. I'm probably right there. I'm probably dead center. So where do you think you are on the bell curve? Are you like slanting down, getting to where it starts to level out?
I'm for sure probably top 30%.
Okay.
It's hard for me to judge, because like occasionally I'll look at like the elo trackers and stuff, but part of the problem is that I spend a lot of time in PvP intentionally playing with dumb loadouts because I don't care about my KD.
Right.
I don't care about elo.
Fellow brother in Christ.
Just
love that.
do not.
Same way.
Yeah.
Like, I've got an F-meter here, and it is reading 0 as far as my stats go for the Crucible. Just don't care. So, like 50% of my time is spent tanking my stats. Which probably has some impact on my skill rating, but my understanding is that Bungie's pretty good at picking out your skill rating even when you're playing suboptimally. So it's it's tough to judge, but somewhere in the top quarter is my guess. Yeah. And my experience so far has been great. My matches have been good. My connections have been good. They've been competitive. I will say they have been a lot less lopsided on both ends.
Good.
I'm steamrolling less, and I'm getting steamrolled less. So I'm definitely in like the sweet spot where I've got a high population of Destiny players around me. I've got San Antonio just south. I've got Austin just north, Houston, and Dallas. Like, there's so many people playing Destiny in Texas, and that, and the internet here is generally great if you live in or next to the city. So for me, it's not really an issue, right? I'm really helped by that. The major connection issues are in the top And I think they say this in the TWAB, like the top 0.1%
Yeah, I'll read it
of
for you.
players.
It's for the highest skill band, less than 0.1% of the population. Matchmaking times average around 90 seconds during high population times, and then spiking to just over 200 seconds for low population times. For the lowest skill band, we're seeing matchmaking times between 120 at best and 240 at worst. But they said on average, matchmaking went up about 5 to 10 seconds. Now, I said
Yeah.
before when we had this discussion, I was like, I will wait, I'd say it was like 15, 20 seconds just for a better match. And what you described is what they're going for, because they say the skill difference we see in control is stark. Without SBMM, only 10% of matches had 600 or less skill difference. Means like basically less than 10 matches had people that were kind of close together in this 2,000 point scale that they've got. With SBMM on, they say 80% have people within that 600 point range, which is impressive, because I was even joking about, like, when I've talked about it before, to say like 0, like a 1 to a 10, like a 1 shouldn't play a 10. They're on a 20 point scale and they're within 6. And they're actually getting people generally within that for a large average of the time.
Yeah.
For
God
90,
bless skill-based matchmaking.
for 90% of games without SBMM, the average skill of all players within a game was between 300 and negative 100. That line keeps screwing me up, which is weird. But anyway, but they say now we see a significant number of games with a higher average skill. So it looks like those last two lines are weird, but it does seem like that most of the, with SBMM on, I don't like the way those two lines are written. So if somebody wants to clarify that, totally fine. It just reads weird to me. But it does seem like with them on, 80% of matches have that like 600 point gap, which seems good, which seems like they're actually going for what they're averaging. A couple other pieces, and then we can kind of discuss it. Mercy games are down 4%, not as much as they had hoped, but they said they're shrinking a little by the day. Games where the score threshold has been met remained about steady, and then games that go to time rose by about 4%. They will say if they see time being something that gets hit more frequently, basically more competitive matches, you're going to be closer and closer to that like 149 to 150. It just takes longer to get the kills. If they see the time going longer, they probably have like, hey, a match should be 8 minutes. If we're hitting this 9 much more frequently, they might bring score threshold or something back down to kind of make that more manageable. They also said games where the best player had 30 plus more kills than the worst player went from 9%, basically 1 in every 10 games almost, down to 2%. That's a massive drop. Like to see that, the 30 like somebody's getting 8, the other person just got like 40. That person's going to see that instead of 1 out of 10, 1 out of 50 games, they're going to see that. And like every blue moon, sure, but that's better. Games where the best player had 10 to 19 more than the worst went from 35 to 55%. So half games, you have more than half of the games, best to worst is a 20-point range. That's actually, I mean, that's a cool aspiration that I think they actually did a pretty good job hitting. They are seeing quitting, and this is the one thing I will see on Twitter. Saw a little bit of this. Quitting is an issue right now, which, there can be bigger issues than just like, hey, somebody got dropped out of a match. Like, people don't like maps, they want to quit. I mean, it's not just like, oh, something came up in the house and I gotta go run. People are apparently quitting. Quitting has gone up, they say, by 4%. I mean, obviously the vocal minority on Twitter has made it sound like a lot more than that, but quitting has gone up 4%. And they said it's even worse is if they do actually get 12 relatively close people and then they're trying to find some other person to fill that hole. I don't know if that's the issue or they're just not putting people in there, but I know I've seen some people where it's like 2 versus 6 after people have quit so much. So if people are not being backfilled in, that is a major problem, I think, which definitely hopefully gets fixed. But as for the stats, I just kind of wanted to see what you guys think about just kind of everything I went over. Travis, is this music to your ears? Is this good things, or where are you at on all this outside of the quitting, which we'll get to?
It's mostly good news. Like skill-based matchmaking is a necessity if you want your lobbies to feel not terrible. It helps all people. It raises all ships, right? The people that are the most skillful are going to be playing against their peers and getting better by playing against the people that they should be playing against. And the people that are really bad at Crucible won't get stomped on and then never play again. So I think it will ultimately result in a better experience all around. The only people it really hurts are the people who want lopsided matches so that they can, do crazy stuff, which is not really a great aspiration if you're trying to create a balanced PvP world, which Bungie seems determined to do. And those people, they have private lobbies if they want to do that. There's plenty of opportunities for you to play with your bad friends in a private match if you want to just try out stuff like that. So I've sort of talked about this enough already, I think. But yeah, I've not gotten to try out the new lobbies. The only Destiny I've played this week was just doing my weeklies and King's Fall. So I need to get in there. But just at a general level, I'm super happy to see this. I do have questions about some of their data, about specifically the quitting, about the claimed greater engagement that they're saying is due to the fact
that population.
Yeah.
So let me say that real quick.
That they're claiming is due to the skill-based matchmaking, which I don't know if I buy.
In the first week of Season of Plunder, 140,000 more hours of Control have been played than the first week of Season of the Haunted. We had around 11% increase in the total number of players playing Control. Now, they state that, and I saw this on Twitter and a couple other places, and as you said, without giving a lot of the information around a statistic, when you have the game is free on Epic for, like everything, just come in, try and get all the stuff that you can. Some people are going to trip into the big Control button at the top.
All expansions are free.
All expansions are free for a little while. All of those things. Again, this is why I was like, I need a non-Iron Banner week at like 6 or 7. Then I want to see, like, give me Risen, give me Haunted, and give me Plunder at like an even week. And then I want to see where things land.
Or you could just adjust based on the larger player base overall. So the player bases for this season are much greater than last season. And so you would just need to adjust it and say, like, the average people playing Crucible matches are playing more than they were last time or something like that. But yeah, I have questions about their data, certainly. But overall, I expect that this is good news for their PvP sandbox. I am not surprised that it's good news. Anybody who has any understanding of how this stuff works, I think, agrees that this is a best practice and is likely to result in people enjoying their matches more. Interested to see what the quitting thing is. Perhaps it is Destiny players not being used to matches being longer. That could be one thing. Or perhaps being frustrated that they are not ending quickly enough, aka they're not either just getting beaten or beating the other team in a sufficiently short time span. But I think that probably will level set after a while once people course correct or they shorten times or something of that nature. But they certainly probably should look into making matches shorter if they're going to be more balanced, because that is definitely something that is going to affect people's experience and likeliness to quit out of a match.
Kit, with just all this stuff, I wanted to ask you. You got this little this connection, and I'm gonna call him Mercules.
Okay.
I'm gonna call him Jercules. That's probably worse. Anyway, but the idea would be like, you guys have spent so much time breaking down weapons and spend a lot of time in PvP, most of your time in Destiny PvP. And we joked about like, hey, we'd love a ranking system and ladder. And you're like, yep, 100%. If you were going to basically look for like, how would you like to see Crucible, like by the time we get Nightfall or Final Shape, or if you were going to ask for like 3 things in there, because I've heard like map voting going around. I know like a rank system. What are your top 3 like major asks that you would look for in Crucible, because that is kind of your world, and what would make it better?
Yeah. So, first up, I would love to see map rotation handled in a better way than it currently is. The waiting on new maps, it's like fine for a week or 2, but it definitely gets a little frustrating when you feel like you're getting the same 3 maps on a really repetitive basis, especially when you play a lot of Crucible. It can get a little tiresome. It does force you to adapt. There's a lot of bigger maps that are kind of high in the waiting right now that are showing up a lot, and I'm running a lot of close range loadouts, which is forcing me to get good at using cover. So I'm taking the opportunity to work on my skill set while I wait for them to do something about it. But I'd love to see map rotation handled in a different way.
Yep.
That may play into the current quitting issue a little bit in conjunction with connection issues and skill-based matchmaking. I think some people are like, oh, I've been waiting for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. I finally got a match. I know connections are going to be mediocre, and I'm stuck on disjunction for the third time in the last hour. Like, I don't want to play this one, and they just back out. I could totally see that. That makes sense to me as a thing that someone would do. Especially if you're at the higher or the lower ends, because those are much smaller populations in the skill band, right? It works like a bell curve, so most people are kind of lumped into that middle section. And if you're in that middle 70%, 80%, your connections are probably fine right now. Maybe now and then you get somebody who's lagging. It happens. It's a video game. We get over it. When you're in that the outer edges, the bottom 1%, the top 1%, I would love to see them making connection a little more important than they have, because it does suck to see people having a bad time, people who love playing Crucible having a bad time. And I do understand, I hear both sides, right? I definitely orient a lot of my advice to people who are in the lower end of the skill range, because if you're super good at Crucible, you probably don't need advice on picking weapons. You probably know what you like.
Yeah.
Right. So my show's not really for those people as much. That said, I want people who are struggling in Crucible to have a good time. If their connections suck, and at the very bottom 1%, I guarantee they're just as bad as the top 1%, because their skill bands are just as tiny, and they're sitting there for 2 minutes, and the ping's climbing, and I don't know what the formula is exactly, but you can tell that there's a certain point that connection stops being a priority. And when I play during low population times, there's a certain point where I'm just like, oh, this match is just gonna suck.
Yeah.
And I don't usually quit out, but I could understand where somebody might. If the connections are just really bad and the match is not going well for you, sure, you walk away. So I'd love to see them working on making connection a bigger priority, especially at the ends of the spectrum.
That makes that. That's probably fair, because even they said with SBMM on, 80% of the games have that separation of 600 or less. And if you're dealing with 2000, even if it's from -1000 to -400, I mean, when the bell curve middle and the median sits at 100, there's a large chunk, again, that I feel like the -1000 does not need to play with 1000. But in my head, the -1000 could easily play with -1000 to 100, like play with half of the bell curve. And again,
Right.
and that's why I think where you're saying is like they could spread the connection to be a little, the farther out you get, there needs to be some connection kind of like prioritization in there too, even if it does widen the skill. Because yeah, good players, in that top half could have a little wider spectrum, and they could have a little more fun with some of their skill gaps. And I get they're trying to keep the kill differences close, which I get, but especially as you're saying, those ends might need to broaden the pools and keep connection a little heavier. So that makes sense. I get that.
Yeah. I think as like a baseline implementation, this is a great start for skill-based matchmaking. But it's pretty clear that they still have some work to do to make the game, an enjoyable experience, or at least an experience that can be enjoyed if somebody chooses to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Bungie can never please all the Guardians all the time. Everyone knows this.
Sure. Well, it's like, and I think what we've talked about, and I mean, I'm not trying to steal your point here, but also it's like when you picture, and this helps more the high versus the low, but on the higher end, as you've said, like if there was a Crucible ladder with incentive, which is the other big caveat in there, that would pull some of that higher end to a place that they want to be.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't know if I stole one of your bullet points, but continue.
Well, so yeah, I'll move on because I feel like I'm beating that horse to death. Everybody's talking about that. So the second thing I'd love to see is just a kind of a complete restructuring of the Crucible screen. I think, and I'll kind of just go through some high points here rather than spend an hour breaking down what I love to see. I think trials should be an in-game loot grind. Like that should be what the whole experience is built around. It's just an in-game loot grind, because trying to make it anything else, which is what they've spent years doing. They spent years trying to make it anything. They've tried to make it a tournament, and it's not a tournament. Like if they implement a tournament system, great. I'll also play that. But that's not what Trials has been. It's been an in-game loot grind that has been gatekept for years, and I think they just need to decide what it is that Trials is for. Do that, and then we move on.
Sounds like somebody I know. Travis.
we need a casual
funny
playlist.
It's funny how whenever we have a PvP main on here, we start to really jive when it comes to these ideas.
I feel like there are a lot of people who have a good sense of like what would be fun for Crucible. For a lot of people, I think we need a casual playlist where the focus is on games with good connections, with just enough skill-based matchmaking to keep the worst players from having to play people who are in like the top 50%, and keep the best players from having to play people who are in the bottom 50%. And then there's some gradation there, right? I'm being very vague.
Yeah.
Because the formulas are complicated, and I'm not trying to pretend I'm a game designer here, but fundamentally, I absolutely want a casual list where those people don't really see each other ever. And then I'm fine. I'll play the top 0.1%. I'm nowhere near their skill level, but I'll happily have them in my games now and then. Seeing that level of play either for or against is a great way for me to learn at the point that I'm at. So I also think we need a very detailed competitive playlist with a ranked ladder system with visible ranks that also lets you see the ranks of all of your opponents and everyone on your team. So there's no mysterious hidden information. And it needs loads of cosmetic rewards that get better and better the higher up you go.
Yeah. Do you hear what he's saying? Yeah, me too.
No pinnacle weapons locked away behind skill, because that's just a great way, I think, to make people frustrated and upset, and also encourage people to pay for recubs and things, which isn't necessarily something I think Bungie wants to be encouraging. So no pinnacles, just cosmetics, sweet emotes,
bragging rights. Yeah,
give us a 5500 emote. Where you
there you go.
Hold up a sign, or you point up and it shows 5500. What give us fun stuff like that.
I mean, what if you just have a guardian sitting there like a baseball, but just spinning a diamond if you're in Diamond League, and they're just just this little humble brag that or Onyx for Halo, just whatever that top elite list would be,
or a glow of some kind.
Glows are great too.
What about the little things we used to wear for Nightfall completions?
There's so many things they can do. It's such a waste of opportunity, and I think part of this might be the elephant in the room that is Eververse, and how much has just become locked behind that. But either Bungie is serious about PvP or they aren't, and they need to implement something like this. And I think their willingness to rework what Trials is, and rework what skill-based matchmaking and how that fits into their sandbox, I think it shows that they are serious about it. They realize there is a problem, and now they just need to put the resources behind fixing it. And yeah, man, I'm with you, Kutch. This stuff keeps me up at night. You log on to Rocket League and you're like, it's right there. It's right there. You could do this so easily. So I just want it to be a thing.
So if I were to get a little more into it, there's stuff that I love to see them do with kind of casual event playlists and stuff during the week, and bringing in wacky modifiers to some of that I think would be fun, aside from just Mayhem, because Mayhem is great and all, but what if we had an arc burn for a day on a casual playlist? I feel like there's some sweet stuff they could do that would just make the game lean into the wackiness of Destiny. Destiny's got some wackiness. The 30th anniversary really leaned into it hard on the PvE side.
Yeah.
I'd love to see something like that come to PvP, but not before we look at the core structural issues. I also think adding playlists is not something they should be focused on right now. I think they should be focused on having like at most like 4 quality playlists that are fun to play. A lot of people ask for things like freelance, and as a solo player, I love freelance when it's available, but like it also splits the population and potentially makes the experience worse. On at a low pop time or a low pop.
I was
day,
like, I think what you're saying is what I would honestly love to see, just for a little variety too, because you have the rotator. I want them to shove the rotator up into control, and as you said, casual. And then in there, they just need to have weights on party size. If you got a party of 6, try and find, reasonable, like try and take that. And again, if you go on as a party of 6, it may take a little longer. And then the solos, those probably should almost be easier to match make, as just a whole bunch of solos, dump them into a lobby if they're decent like that. But yeah, I mean, you have, Team Scorched. You can you can throw Rumble into some of these things, but yeah, as you're saying, the population doesn't need divided, but like casual, ranked, you could do
Fire team waiting for sure. And it'd be easier to do if they consolidated playlists.
Exactly.
Then fire team waiting doesn't hurt matchmaking times as badly.
Right.
If people only have 2 or 3 choices.
Yeah.
So.
But I mean, just even what you just said, like arc, like you could only have arc weapons equipped and then an arc subclass. And that's, what do you get? Like your kinetic, arc energy, arc super, and arc subclass. Like just those are the things I wish Crucible Labs could have been.
Yeah.
And they could just throw that in and be like, hey, goofy playlist, go and just like let a couple people brainstorm in a corner crazy things and see what sticks. Maybe it's just like
give us all the Nightfall
everybody
stuff.
has heavy weapons only, or it's like all linear, all snipers, or
this is why I think Bungie needs to address their playlist problem, because it's crazy to me that every game mode is its own playlist, and actually every game mode is almost 2 playlists because of freelance. And it's just like most other multiplayer games don't do that. Most PvP games, they throw everything in buckets, and they give you maybe 2 or 3 buckets, and you never know what you're going to get. So you could end up in a mayhem match or a scorch match or whatever, and you just just are along for the ride with the playlist, or there's some sort of voting involved where you can vote on which of the 3 options are available. I just think
what mode and what map, couple quick votes, don't take like 10 seconds, bam,
and
bam.
It would also help their player population problem, right? With the fact that they've got way too many playlists for PvP, and in a game that already has way too many playlists. I mean, there's like 3 strike playlists or something like that. So they could solve a lot of their problems with stuff like this, and it would allow them to try new things without worrying about disrupting their player base, because it's not like you just throw it onto an existing playlist. So many possibilities, man.
I'm going to throw it out here too. This feels like the platform. My pitch for what map voting could look like, because I think there's some potential big downsides. Like people are worried, like, oh, we're just going to play the same 3 PvP maps that people love if we have map voting, and it'll get just as boring, but in the opposite direction. So I don't know how many people played Mario Kart online, but I was pretty good at Mario Kart for a while.
Yeah.
And they had a system at one point where you could vote for the track, but you get a random selection of tracks. It would be like 3 or 4 that you could vote for. And your voting wasn't a win-lose vote. You would vote, and then it would randomly pick one person's vote. And so it's kind of doubly random there. And even if a thing only gets 1 vote, still has a chance that might happen. So you don't end up crowding into the same stuff quite as often. Obviously, it's a whole new system. So I know the dev time on that is not a small thing, but it would be nice to have some choice. And I think when you feel like you have some control, and you feel like you get a vote that always counts, even if you're the only person that votes for that thing, like even if 1 in 12 games your vote gets picked, like, hey, you're deciding the map 1 in 12 games, right?
Exactly.
Like that feels good. So yeah, I think I think
I would
that
be
it
on
could
board
work.
with everything you've said so far. I don't think anything here I have a
I love
problem
it.
with. Like ranked, casual playlist, map voting, and just like that kind of double randomness. But at some point, hey, I picked one. Cool. Like
Yeah.
that just, but yeah, as you said, the whole, I mean, I would be very curious to ask, because I know some people might hate this, but even every so often, if I just went to the casual playlist, all of a sudden it's Rumble, I would be okay with that if it's just like mixed in with Scorched and Mayhem and Showdown and everything else every so often. You're like, because honestly, Rumble is one of the best ways to get better. I just tend not to go put myself in there because I'm usually just, knocking out my 3 and not doing as much. But if that was in the mix every so often, you're like, oh, guess I'm playing Rumble. Okay, I gotta, and it just kind of changes your feeling. That whole population lumped into one casual playlist, I'd love to see it. So that's just me. But
12 Guardian Rumble. I'm just gonna say that.
Oh.
I'll leave that.
that's terrifying, but
Please.
fun.
Please bring it. Bring it. I mean, I would love it.
Or teams of 3 Crucible match.
Yeah.
Oh, multi-team. Yeah, that would be cool as well.
Multi-team.
Multi-flag. Flag.
Yep.
You know.
I'm just spitballing
Yeah,
here,
it's
man.
like, I
NFC.
was like, we could spitball forever, but I want to make sure we kind of respect your time as we're getting tight here.
Yep.
I think it has been promising to see a more continual discussion recently about PvP, which gives us hope about theoretically something for comp. I don't know what it is, but we're all dreaming that season 19 might be something cool. And then
That's the word on the
Lightfall.
street.
Yeah, it's like Lightfall might be bringing something as well. So it seems like they've expanded drastically at the studio for many reasons, but if you got to feel like PvP now seems to be one of the pieces of focus. And then also now with this upcoming season where it's subclass, Crucible might be coming. It sounds in Lightfall they're going to be doing stuff with the Vanguard playlist. I'm hoping that kind of gets a little refresh there, but season 19 might be the Crucible one, and I am totally fine with that because it's due. Long overdue, and maybe we can steal you and maybe see about talking to your co-hosts, getting you back, maybe if we get any crazy stuff on there. I don't know if he's allowed, but I know you got him on your show, so.
Yeah, no, it's that I don't think they get a lot of choice about when they go on or who goes on. I think there's a lot of PR folks involved in making those calls.
We've done that once or twice, so yeah, there's multiple paths and people and things there, but yeah, if nothing else, I know Cognito couldn't be here. He would probably not forgive me if I didn't say please pass along his just hello to Mercules, because I know we met him at like GCX a while ago, and we've been following you guys, and he loves like what you guys do and everything. Always has.
Awesome. Thank
so
you. Yeah,
he wasn't
I'll pass it on.
here, but I wanted to pass that on from him because I know he's just been a big fan of both of you guys and stuff like that forever. So he may not get to talk to Mercules because he works there now, but to both of you guys, he definitely wanted to say thank you. And from us here as well, you've been an absolute blast. Level-headed, cool, chill, talking and understanding multiple sides of the arguments and stuff, and that's exactly what we're going for. So if I get a PvP panel together at some point, I might be picking your brain to come back for that one, because I've been trying to figure out what heads I want to get in there to make it interesting. So,
well, I'd love to come back sometime for sure. This has been a blast talking about stuff a little different than I sometimes get into on my own podcast. So yeah, it's been fun.
Well, at this point, now is the time to kind of tell everybody where to find you, because you're our guest, but they got to go find all of your stuff.
Sure.
Platform's yours.
The easiest way to connect to all of the things that I am doing is to hit up destinymassivebreakdowns.com. That will link you to all the podcasts, link you to my Discord, my Twitter. You can follow Destiny Massive Breakdowns as the show at Destiny MVP. That's going to be Destiny only tweets. You can follow me. It's the same name as you see on the screen there at KYT_Kucha. And that will be Destiny tweets, but also like random other tweets, things like seeing bears up close in the wild and
going on
climbing and
going to Big Bend or whatever.
Yeah,
you and your obstacle races. I haven't done an obstacle race in years. I used to do those quite a bit for a little stint there. They're fun.
I now have a an obstacle course in my backyard to supplement the stuff hanging from the ceiling of my garage. So,
Well, there you go. Yeah, you're a crazy, nimble guy. But yeah, definitely. I mean, if you guys haven't listened to Destiny Massive Breakdown, please go listen to them. Absolutely amazing show. A lot of information. You could go back to old shows and just learn things about guns. Like, you'll learn things just going to listen to old stuff. So please go check them out. We got random errands and stuff. Like, it is a very good way to fill your ears of different Destiny information than you might have tripped into from other shows. But definitely very informative for pretty much every player, I would say.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, and the podcast is everywhere that you listen to podcasts except on YouTube, which I'm hoping to fix this fall. So
there you go. I mean, trust me, people will throw just an image and play audio, so you could easily just start doing that. That does not take much.
That may be what I have to do, because we do it pre-recorded. We do a lot of editing. We let people do retakes and stuff. It's very much not a live show.
Yeah.
So we'll see what we end up doing here. But my aim this fall is to get Destiny Massive Breakdowns onto YouTube, and to get. I also produce Podcast versus Enemies, a PvE in-game show, which is very much the same vibe, but for people who do raid, and hosted by people who also raid, who are not me. So yeah, Grandmasters and all that, they do that. It's part of the Massive Breakdowns family of shows, and highly recommend it.
Oh yeah, you just slap the audio on YouTube, put an image up. Yeah, you'd have a channel in no time. With your guys following and stuff, you'd be rolling.
Although
I think we'll find
not
out.
Live recording. I don't know. That's a bunch of PvP mains who can't perform under pressure. I don't know about that, man. You gotta play with live ammo. Let's do it, man.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, I definitely want to extend our pleasure, and from Cognito. I know he wanted to pass everything, so tell Mercules, and also to you directly, both of you guys, massive thanks from him, from me, from Travis. Thank you for being here. And then Travis, as we wrap up, I don't have a whole bunch. Do you have anything to cover before we go?
No. Let's send this man on his way. He's
Indeed.
given us enough time.
Yeah, so I mean, you guys know where to find all of our stuff. You've heard it before, Ebontis and Ty Guy Travis, but the guest here, KYT_KUTCHA, that's Twitter, and then Massive Breakdowns Podcast. If you find either of those, you're going to find all of the amazing work this man does, and follow him. You're in for a good time. But for this episode, number 213, chat, you guys have been amazing. Thank you for being here for the show live. Go tell other people to find this one. Go tell people about Massive Breakdowns. Spread the word of all the good that this guy is doing, and we'll see about getting him back in the future for some more entertaining chats. But for this episode, September 1st, we are 2/3 through the year, which sounds weird, but we are. But
Did it.
yeah,
You did it
all right.
organically.
Here we
Did
go.
you catch that? You just did that without
It's
even.
like, no,
recognizing
trust me, I'm thinking through it, but I'm talking myself through it. So thank you guys very much. Have a fantastic one. And for this episode, it has been
The last word.